And we are all here, and many are still coming. And topic is also very interesting. So welcome all.
So topic of discussion today at UPIF open session. That's the New Year first session we are starting today. So it is development of scientific temperament and rationality is the key to psycho-spiritual elevation. If we say in Hindi, वैज्ञानिक चिंतन स्वभाव व विवेक का विकास मानसाध्यात्मिक उत्थान की कुंजी है. I'm thinking to start with one sloka which is very good for the logic reasoning. Baba says that yukti yuktam upadeyang vachanang balakadapi anyang trinamiva त्याजक मप्युतंग पद्म जन्मना. बाबा कहते हैं even if a young child says something logical, it should be accepted because that will lead to progress. But when a dogma comes, it chokes the progress of humanity. Many scriptures teach wrong things, and many philosophies teach the wrong things. Such teaching cannot teach us anything along rational humanity. So, point comes here is discrimination is a point. So, what is we need something practical for the elevation of the entire human race. And as a result of the elevation of human being, all living beings and all other inanimate objects will be elevated. So what is required now is the elevation of human existence, the elevation of human mind and human spirit. We require no dogmas. What we require is more reasons, more rationality. Rationality move up to the terminus of Paramapurusha, is the universal hub. So this has the opening remarks. I would like everyone to participate. It's a wonderful session today, topic. So kindly raise your hands and let us start a meaningful discussion. Thank you very much. He's our opening batsman.
Opening batsman, yeah.
Surendra Dada, kindly unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, namaskar. Thank you for. But the thing is that I actually this subject is very what you call almost where there is no dispute about the importance of logic, importance of rationality, importance of science, scientific temperament, and all these things. So the only issue is that the habits, practices, the traditions, which run counter to the rationality, because somebody says so and so animal is very sacred, and you cannot, you have to protect it and do everything under the sky, and then you mean to say all other animals are not sacred. Everything is divine for that matter. Everything is Brahma, Parampurush is all transformation. So all animals, all so there's nothing like this exclusive kind of this things being promoted in the society. And I think there is a very long article of Baba in explaining various dimensions of this irrationality that has been introduced into the societies. Well-intentioned people, ill-intentioned people, for example, even in the 13th century, when the traveler came to China from Europe, Sicily, they still the thinking was the world is flat, and beyond China, it is a big what do you call aghatam, what do you call a kind of this you fall off, something like somebody will fall off the edge of the China. So you are the edge of the China wave. So the thinking in even 13th century was that Marco Polo. Marco Polo wrote in his he wrote a long travelogue, which was very popular. So when the printing press was first installed, you know, the best-selling book was the Bible. The second best-selling book was the Marco Polo's Travels. So that was a kind of this thing. So people were influenced by all those things, what he has written. But basically what I'm saying is it's all along what you call very, when we look back at it, when we look back that the frontiers of knowledge of human beings has been increasing. The periphery, you can say the periphery, the front, for even today also, the frontiers of knowledge are expanding. more and more information, more and more. For example, recently, so many new things have been. Somebody has discovered that you can reverse the aging, and somebody has discovered there is energy can be produced by fusion rather than explosion. So then somebody has come out with a artificial intelligence, wherein that company chat, GPT chat, something is there, where is machine is trained, machine is so well trained as to almost respond like a human being. So artificial intelligence is going by leaps and bounds. So where what you call pattern recognition patterns, rationality. So you can teach, even a machine can learn rationality. That is the issue now. So we are coming into a world where things are exploding in terms of knowledge, in terms of science, in terms of this thing. In fact, I was talking to our anchor, Dr. What do you call Rajendra Prasad ji, telling that I think there is so much of material that we need to know about the future, because next one decade, about 1930 or 2030, I think we'll see a world in which the amount of changes that have taken place in the last 200 years are going to take place in the next one decade. I'm making a very, very important statement. The kind of changes that have taken place in the last 200 years will equal the kind of changes that are going to take place in the next 10 years. So this is the kind of situation so we have to keep ourselves updated. The Proutists will have to learn to understand that the changing future, rapidly changing future in terms of education, healthcare, science, technology, all these things are going on. Communications. They say that now 5G. Now 5G is already introduced in some cities. They say that it is 10 times faster than the 4G. 10 times faster than the 4G. Okay, theoretically it is maybe 100 times, but practically now they are able to give public the 10 times faster than the 4G. So what I am saying is that we are now entering an era of explosion of information, knowledge, science, and all these things. So we cannot hang on to the dogmas. If we hang on to our dogmas, we will be going backward. Rather, see, there is going to be a backlash, and there will be fanaticism, will be given promotion, and those people will come forward and say so many things which are illogical, irrational, and others keep silent because they do not want to be unnecessarily have a friction. But Baba says that, of course, Baba says the way to deal with the superstition, all these things, through what you call wave of logic, the logical wave. He used the word logical wave. He said, by the strength of your logical wave, will vanish all the illogical or irrational, unscientific kind of formulations and beliefs, practices that are prevalent in our society. So the best route to what you call bring the humanity forward in growth, progress is education, education, education. There's nothing like education. I consider that even the UPIF forum is a forum for education.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we'll come back. I'll come back.
Thank you, Dada. Thank you so much. You are always innovative and futuristic, and we are all in that. So anybody else, please raise hands. Let us be vocal. It is our internal, most of us know each other. If we cannot speak here, then how outside world will speak? So please speak up.
दादा नमस्कार।
नमस्कार दीदी।
दादा मैं तो सिर्फ इतना ही कहना चाहूंगी कि हम लोग एजुकेशन की बात करते हैं। मेरे नॉलेज में ऐसे लोग हैं जो लेक्चर हैं, प्रोफेसर हैं, जो पर डे 100-150 स्टूडेंट्स को इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, लेकिन वो खुद ही डॉगमा से निकल नहीं पा रहे, जिनको हम लोग हाईली एजुकेटेड कहते हैं। वो रिसर्च करवाते हैं, पर डे रिसर्च करवाते हैं, लेकिन खुद ही चादर चढ़ाते हैं। उनको कहिए मेडिटेशन करने को, तो वो बोलते हैं कि हम देवराहा बाबा को चादर चढ़ाने जा रहे हैं और क्या क्या, मतलब तो इन लोगों को कौन टीच करेगा जब ये सोसाइटी को टीच कर रहे हैं और ये खुद ही डॉगमा में उलझे हुए हैं, पढ़े लिखे कहे जाते हैं। अब हमको तो समाज इनको बहुत पढ़ा लिखा ही मानता होगा, जहां तक हम समझते हैं।
जी दीदी।
तो इस टॉपिक पे अगर आप लोग कुछ प्रकाश डालने चाहें तो मैं सुनना पसंद
Sure.
करूंगी।
We are very clear. Baba is
And
talking. Yes.
also there are many judges doing that.
Yeah.
Supreme Court,
डेफिनेटली दादा,
including Supreme Court judges.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, एकदम बहुत आम बात है।
Yes.
आप अगर उनको अंदर से देखेंगे तो आपको लगेगा कि इनसे तो हम लोग बहुत ऊपर हैं। इतना वो लोग डॉगमा में घिरे हुए हैं कि बेटी की तबीयत खराब हुई है तो पंडित जी को बुला लिए, पंडित जी मंत्र पढ़ रहे हैं, बेटी की तबीयत थोड़ी ठीक हो गई, अब उस दिन से पंडित जी भगवान हो गए। ये तो मैंने देखा है, अपनी आंखों से मैं देख
Yeah.
रही हूँ।
Actually, dogma survives, as if I'm right, survives on fear. It survives on fear. I mean, so its main base is fear, you know. So even the people who are aware of things, the so-called intellectuals, you know. So unless their intellect is liberated, and if you want an intellect to be liberated, there is no shortcut but to follow the spiritual cult systematically. That is what you and me are. So that's a very fundamental difference between the general intellectuals and liberated intellectuals. That is how I can differentiate with my little understanding. But if you have a fear, and again, that astapasa, I must say, the kind of things we have imbibed or acquired from our family, friends, surrounding, it is very difficult to, off it. So even the intellectuals, they know scientifically this is wrong, but still because of the fear, they will say, okay, let me do what is wrong. If it becomes all right, fine. So, that mental strength is not there. That is what I can say. And that comes only, that is what Baba says, that spirituality has a strength with which no other strength can be compared. And what is that strength? That strength is your Atma Bal. That is the strength. That is how I take it. Yes, Surendra Dada, aapka hand raised hai. You want to say something more?
Yeah, I want to say one more
Yeah.
thing is that. See, Dada, see, we are the whole, our life is full of sentiments. See, our happiness or sentiment depends upon our sentiments. And there are good sentiments, there are negative sentiments, there are positive sentiments. And there are, we want that the sentiment should not come in the way of cardinal human values. That's one thing. What I'm trying to say is that, see, the truth, science, all these things, they're all being going on changing. For example, it does not mean when the people believe that the world is flat, there were no good people there. They were all dogmatists or something like that. See, they were only. So what I am to say that we should be open to change, open to logic, open to rationality, and irrationality should be removed. But does not mean that on any day that we are rational people. No. And one more thing is, sentiment drives human beings because they see our, as you said, intellectuality is only a construction, intellectual construction. It has got its limitations. See, rationality allows us to negotiate the world in a way that everybody also benefits from that. But that is not the ultimate thing because there is love, compassion, all those things. Do they require a logic? The happiness, does it require a logic? No. So what I said is devotion, does it require a logic? No. Love, this is all attraction, raga, vairaga, all these things are there. What I'm saying is that, see, the necessity of logic and science is very important, and logical outlook is also important. But that does not mean that we have to have those sentiments, which are there. So many people are driven by sentiments only. Idea and ideology. If you talk about idea and ideology, see, you have got the flow of ideology, ideas. Bubbles goes on, your mind goes on, what do you call, have so many bubbles about it. See, you like one color, you don't like one other color. So all those things are there. And you have sentiments for your language. You have got sentiment for your, so many things are there. Certain rhythms, certain patterns of music. All those things are there. These are all things. You mean everything need not be justified by logic. Everything need not be justified by science. A human being also is a signature of what is right. Human experience also is a signature of what is good for human society. So what I'm saying is that human experience And science is a tool by which we understand the world around us and manage that world for the benefit of all.
Okay.
That is required.
Good, understood. Thank you,
Okay,
Dada.
now
Thank you, Shuddha Dada.
Madhusudan
Now,
ji.
Madhusudan Dada, please
Madhusudan ji.
unmute yourself. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Namaskar, everyone. I must start by saying that the topic disturbed me because it infers that logic and rationality are almost required for the path of spirituality. It is not the case. And logic and rationality are vital for crushing dogma. That's very important. And dogma is a very clear barrier to the development of psychospirituality. So in the case where there is dogma, one needs logic and rationality. But it's not the only way. It is clearly the way for intellectuals, because intellectuals, if there's dogma in the way for intellectuals, then they can't get over that. So intellectual people need logic and rationality to overcome dogma. But majority of people in society are not intellectuals. So the intellectual people have to create leadership in the society, and that leadership is not necessarily going to take the form of logic and rationality. For example, devotion. Devotion is a very vital way to lead people and for people to find the way toward spirituality. So the problem with the premise that logic and rationality are essential for moving on the path of spirituality can create its own dogma. It can create its own intellectual dogma, so to speak. So it is an important tool. And then we have to look at that rationality and scientific approach on from 2 points of view. One is on the personal point of view in terms of how we develop our personal life and our spiritual life. And the other is in society. And sometimes the society gets everything backwards. They try to pursue dogma. Well, dogma you'll see in society too, but in many places, particularly in eastern part of the world, you see the lack of scientific approach, lack of rationality has inhibited social, intellectual, and economic development for millennia. So you have a lack of, in a sense, scientific and rationality in some countries, whereas in Western countries, there's too much rationality and scientific thought, and lack of intuition and more subtle thinking is inhibiting other growth and causing the degeneration of society in other places. So everything is on a case-by-case basis. There needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance between thinking from higher koshas, from our subtler parts of mind, and there needs to be a balance between that and the thinking from the more crude parts of the mind, which are also part of our life. So the topic, as I said, was a little confusing to me because of the way it was worded. It really needs to be taken into a context of a total spiritual approach to life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaskar, Dada.
That's interesting. That was very interesting. Yeah, more thoughts, please. I think there are many.
Dada,
Yeah.
Dada, you can say something on.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yes.
I was going to invite Veena Hari
Okay.
from
Okay.
Charlotte, USA. Can you please express yourself on the topic? Veena, please unmute yourself.
Namaste, Dadaji. All the
Namaste.
dadas and dadis and the didis and namaskar, happy new year. Actually, I've been very confused by the topic, and that is the reason I thought I'll put the video on and see if I can gain anything. It's very confusing in the sense we are talking about spirituality and we are talking about education, and then I think we're lost in the subject. Maybe by the end of this discussion, there will
Yes,
be some
yes.
kind of a
Clarity.
conclusion.
Yeah, there will be some clarity by the
So I'm being
Okay.
very honest. I'm being
time.
very honest.
Yes,
And
thank you. Thank you for expressing yourself.
thank,
Yes, please have patience and be comfortable here. Okay, please, Veena.
thank you, Doctor. Thank
Yes,
Yes, I
welcome.
request Dada you to speak on the
Uh,
topic.
you see, human brain has got two functions. Now, one side is emotional, other side is logical. And I used to give a lot of guest lectures in USA and in Germany, other places. And what during that course of presenting neo-humanism of Sri Anandamurti and going into discussion, what I was finding strikingly is that rationality and spirituality, these two are the highest values uh, for human beings, and these are just स्पेशल टू ह्यूमन बींग्स ये जो विवेक है और ये जो अध्यात्म है ये केवल मनुष्य में पाए जाते हैं दूसरे प्राणियों में है ही नहीं और इन दोनों का जो सम्मिश्रण है वो तो बिल्कुल ही हाईएस्ट वैल्यूज हो जाती हैं ह्यूमन बींग्स के लिए तो मैं देखता हूँ कि इफ देयर इज स्पिरिचुअलिटी and if this spirituality does not have rationality with it, then this ends up becoming a dogma. And so, spirituality devoid of rationality degenerates into dogma. The other way around, if you take, rationality without spirituality, if you have rational thinking, very good, but that if there is no spiritual value in you and you are trying to be rational, ultimately you will become logical and ultimately you will end up in materialistic mindset. So rationality without spirituality degenerates into materialism, and spirituality, on the other hand, without rationality becomes dogma. And neither dogma nor materialism is good for human progress. They cannot provide human progress, either individually or the society. It's something like ये ऐसी बात है ना जैसे आप नाव में बैठे हैं आप एक नाव में बैठे हैं और स्पोर्ट में होती है ना रोइंग बोट होती है ना अगर आप एक हाथ से उसको रोइंग करेंगे एक हाथ से अगर नाव को चलाएंगे तो क्या होगा आप एक सर्किल में घूमते रह जाएंगे you cannot do anything. Either it can be a tight circle or a bigger circle, but you will be going round and round and round and round and round. If you use the other arm and use only one arm, then you will be again going round and round and round on the other side. But what will happen if you use both arms, in the boat? What will happen? You will steer ahead and it will cause progress. You will move forward. So मनुष्य मानव के लिए दोनों जो फैकल्टीज है ब्रेन के जो दोनों साइड्स हैं उनको डेवलप करने की एक टेक्निक होनी चाहिए जिसमें कि एक फुलेस्ट ह्यूमन एक्सपीरियंस मनुष्य को मिल सकेगा है ना ये टेक्निक अभी तक डेवलप हुई नहीं है वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में रैशनैलिटी को ओवर एम्फसाइज किया गया एंड ईस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में sentimentality and spirituality को over emphasize किया गया and as a result the eastern countries became like full of dogmas and the western countries became like full of science and technology, and finally materialism, and finally degeneration and degradation. And now both are recognizing each other. That's very good time now that the Western countries are recognizing the value of spirituality and divine divinity and some sweetness. They have started tasting the sweet taste of the spiritual, devotional, emotional life. Yeah, that's very welcome, development there. And in the East also, Eastern countries, you start like Indonesia, Thailand, Japan, very good mixture of their devotional sentiment and also at the same time rationality, science, scientific temper. So when we talk about scientific temper, it's not only logic, you know it is a way. Science is a way of thinking. It is a way of it's a temper, it's a temperament, you know how you react, how you approach anything, whether you approach anything in a sentimental way or in a scientific way. Yeah, there are two ways of doing it. Science does not necessarily have to be, empty of sentiment and rationality. No, overemphasis of one or the other has caused this kind of a debate between this or that. Rather, the very human nature from the very beginning has been combined. I will have something more to add, but this is my opening remarks, and this is where I stand. Rajendra ji, are you
Thank
there?
you, Dada. Thank you very much. You have cleared our mind that rationality with spirituality is required. So you can say that rationality is a spiritual quality. Otherwise, rationality minus spirituality becomes materialism, which we are visible, and spirituality without rationality becomes dogma. That is what you said. Thank you so much.
Correct. Yes.
I
Yes.
think we are quite clear.
Rationality without spirituality first becomes logic, and then logic further degenerates into materialism.
Yeah, right.
It becomes pure logic, and then logic becomes degenerated further into materialistic mindset.
So can I give an example? It is like this, that suppose if someone has stolen food, one example. I mean, he's a hungry fellow is stolen. So when we see in the first sight, we say that now he has done a wrong. This is logic, that he has done a wrong, he must be punished. But rationality says that because this man was hungry for 4 days, and that is why he has stolen the food stuff. So there, the decision, the conscience differs.
One step more, rationality will say that it is not natural for the human mind to behave like that unless one is in existential crisis. Nobody wants to be a thief. Nobody wants to speak lies. Nobody wants to be, injurious to other and harming other, unless you are in real crisis. And so that way, if you start judging, then you will be able to do proper justice to the situation that you are trying to, to explain. So that is the point. Yes.
So, Mr. Pranav Dadaji, thank you. Unmute yourself and start.
Namaskar to all of you.
Namaskar.
And Happy New Year to all of you.
Welcome. Happy New Year. Yes.
Welcome, our first Prime Minister.
First Proutist Prime Minister. First Sadvipra Prime Minister. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Sure.
Dada, in this topic, my thoughts would be like, Dada, there is no doubt that in order to psycho-spiritual elevation or spiritual development, we need to be very, our scientific approach, rationality, scientific temperament, all are necessary. All are very much needed. But first, we need to know what is dogma, what is not dogma, what is rationality, what is irrationality. We have to be very clear about this. And our spiritual leaders, with all the respect I am saying, I am not saying against anyone. With all the respect I am saying that our spiritual leader must be trained or must be educated what is dogma, what is not dogma, because those people have, you know, in many aspects, what we have seen, what we have witnessed, our scriptures, our spiritual leaders, in many aspects they have, you know, infused dogma and irrationality to the people, and people blindly follow them. They are not fully rational. So my humble submission is they must be educated. We must discuss with them, or we must you know, organize seminars, symposium, or among these spiritual leaders, so-called spiritual leaders, or the educationists, these teachers, lecturers, professors, all should be educated. What is scientific, what is unscientific, what is logical, what is illogical, what is dogma, what is not dogma. Then only we can develop scientific temperament among people, amongst the masses. This is my
Pranav Dev,
yes,
just a small comment on your talk.
yes, Dada, yes, Dada.
Instead of saying spiritual leaders, we will be saying, we should be saying religious leaders.
Yes,
Because you know, by nature, by very spirit, spiritual means will be rational. Or
right,
being rational means will be spiritual,
right,
you
Dada.
know, in a natural sense, you know. But because of disconnect that has been created through the industrial revolution and through the, you know, extreme materialistic life promotional, you know, lifestyle promotion in the West and in the East, one-sided approach, what has happened that spirituality has degenerated into religious dogma, and rationality has become a nemesis for the, you know, for logic. Actually they're just logical brains, and not rational in the West. I have been in the West.
Yes, Dada.
I've lived in the West for sufficient, you know, life part of my life, past 40 years. Their logic, they just think logical, mathematical, not rational. Not
Right.
everybody is rational. Okay,
Yes,
so please, I will not take more time. Please,
yes, Dada.
Lokesh
Thank you,
Kumar.
Dada.
Yes, हाँ ठीक है. Lokesh Kumar, बोलिए.
दादाजी नमस्कार,
Namaskar.
और सभी आदरणीय दीदी एवं दादा को सबको नमस्कार, और नववर्ष की सबको हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं मेरी तरफ से
आपको भी.
जी. ये जैसा कि अभी जो टॉपिक है कि विवेक के आधार पे हम किस प्रकार से समझ सकते हैं आगे जो हमारा मानस आध्यात्म में किस प्रकार से हम प्रोग्रेस कर सकते हैं विवेक के आधार पे. तो उसके लिए एक चीज बाबा का जो टॉपिक है सिंथेसिस एंड एनालिसिस, तो उसमें से ये चीज जैसे समझ में आती है कि विवेक सबसे पहले जागना आवश्यक है. तो विवेक क्या है, पहले हमें से थोड़ा सा मैं बताने की कोशिश करता हूँ. जैसे बाबा ने एक उदाहरण दिया कि कोई व्यक्ति यदि शराब पीता है, तो वो शराब पीता है, तो उसको शराब छोड़ने के लिए उसके पॉजिटिव और नेगेटिव एस्पेक्ट हर तरीके से पता कर लेने पड़ेंगे. तो ये पता करने के लिए उसको मैक्सिमम इंफॉर्मेशन जुटानी पड़ेगी. तो यानी कि विवेक पैदा करने के लिए हमको मैक्सिमम इंफॉर्मेशन हमारे पास होनी चाहिए. दूसरी चीज बाबा ने एक जगह कहा है कि सारी इंफॉर्मेशन होने के बाद भी व्यक्ति अपने मन को समझा लेता है अपने लोभ में फंसाने के लिए, कि पता है कि ये चीज गलत है, फिर भी वो उसके लॉन्ग टर्म एस्पेक्ट को ये छोड़ के सोच लेता है कि नहीं नहीं कुछ नहीं होगा, और उसको उपयोग कर लेता है. तो ये जो दूसरा टर्म है, ये दूसरा टर्म हमारे मानस आध्यात्मिक विकास में बहुत ज्यादा बाधा पहुंचाता है. इसको हमें हटाने के लिए एक जैसा अनुभव में आता है कि एक तो हमारा साधना का यानी कि परम पुरुष का जो हम रेगुलर समझते हैं, थोड़ी थोड़ी चीजों में परम पुरुष का अनुभव महसूस करते हैं कि परम पुरुष ही अनंत आनंद का अपने मन को मिलाकर आनंद प्राप्त करने का स्रोत है. हर चीज में अगर हम परम पुरुष को महसूस करेंगे तो हम अपने आप को आनंद को प्राप्त कर सकते हैं. वो एक ऐसा माध्यम है कि हमारा मन हर समय आनंद के प्रवाह में बह सकता है. हर चीज में हम अपने माइंड को लगा सकते हैं, इन्वॉल्व कर सकते हैं, जैसे कि हमें आनंद मिले. तो एक सोर्स तो वो हो गया अपने आप को वो करने का. दूसरा हमें उसका लॉन्ग टर्म एस्पेक्ट भी देखना पड़ेगा कि जो हम जिस लॉन्ग टर्म एस्पेक्ट को नहीं देख रहे, अपने आप को गुमराह कर रहे हैं, तो उस लॉन्ग टर्म एस्पेक्ट को थोड़ा उसके लिए हमें अपने आप को दृढ़ करना पड़ेगा। तो मुझे लगता है कि बाबा का इस पॉइंट पे हम अच्छे से इंफॉर्मेशन इकट्ठा करें और परम पुरुष की साधना को अच्छे से करें, हर स्टेप पे अच्छे से करें, तो मुझे लगता है मानस आध्यात्मिक विकास हमारा अच्छा हो सकता है। जी धन्यवाद दादा जी।
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Please raise your hands. Yes, Chitra Govindji, please. Thank you. Unmute and yes.
Namaskar. I'm just trying to understand. So we have a lot of terms here, and I'm just trying to wrap my, wrap myself around all the terms. So one is a rationality, which through the discussion I've understood is a rational person is someone who understands a situation both logically and emotionally, right? So, what is the emotion behind a certain act, and what is the logic behind a certain act, and then come to a conclusion. Whereas spirituality, so that's where I'm getting stuck. So, what do we define as spirituality? Spirituality is someone who believes that this, this entire universe is the play of Paramatma. Is that what is called as spirituality? What are we defining as spirituality here? I'm kind of confused, so that I can understand the two parts of the discussion that we are doing.
Good. Rajendra ji, please explain what is spirituality?
Spirituality, if you ask me, Dada, I think you are the right person. You are unnecessary telling me to explain. You please explain.
Okay, my understanding all these years of my sannyas life is spirituality is where mind moves towards pure state of consciousness. Our consciousness is always tainted. Whatever we perceive, whatever we receive from the world, and how we react, in this whole process, our mind is so much involved in the worldly temptation, and our temperament is completely lost in the worldly affairs. If you can withdraw your whole mind from there and focus it towards your own pure existence, your own pure self, your own pure being, so all those who have closed their eyes, they have found that they relax by closing their eyes. Why? In order to relieve yourself from a perplexed state, you need to close your eyes. It's not like a dogma. Anybody and everyone, when they're totally tired, when they're totally perplexed, when they're totally exhausted, they breathe deep and they close their eyes. Oh, and then they relax naturally. Why? Because there we disconnect ourselves from the world of external, and we start focusing towards our internal pure soul and self and pure consciousness, higher mind. So that is spirituality, where mind moves towards the spirit within ourselves, where the mind closes and withdraws towards the first person instead of always interacting with the second person and third person. When our eyes are open, we are always interacting and rushing and dancing with the second person and third person. We have no time for the first person. But when mind starts focusing on the first person, closing their eyes, then the mind gains instead of losing any energy. Mind becomes more nourished, there is nourishment, and then we feel that we have more energy than what is required to handle in this world. And you feel on the top of the situation. You never feel that you are bogged down by the situation. So spiritually, in fact, तीन चीजें हैं ना, शरीर है, मन है और आत्मा है। जब मन शरीर की तरफ जाता है, इंद्रियों से जुड़ता है और जगत के साथ में इंटरेक्ट करता है, उसकी उसकी जगह पर इंस्टीड ऑफ डूइंग दैट, अगर माइंड शरीर से आंख बंद करता है दुनिया से और अपनी आत्मा की तरफ थोड़ा समय बिताता है, वो जो पीरियड है, mind's movement towards the soul, mind's movement towards its own pure state of consciousness, that journey is spiritual.
Thank you.
That is the spiritual area.
Yes, Tada,
Yes.
if you allow me, I'll tell one story. What somebody asked
Yes, please.
Baba. So actually, now here, what is the spirituality? Here he says that spirituality means that which helps you in moving towards the goal from where you started your long journey. That is what you said, towards Atma. To go back to the original home after passing through so many lives is a spiritual practice and spiritual progress. Here is one story. Once a Margi visited Baba in jail, and he told Baba that out there in the world, there are so many different kind of meditation, spiritual meditation. Many people are confused as to which one is correct, which one to choose. How does one know that he or she is doing the right meditation? Baba looked directly at the Margi, glowing with infinite patience and understanding, and said, if after many months or year of meditation, the love for God, here's the point, the love for God has not been awakened, then they are doing the wrong meditation. But if the love for God, love for humanity has been awakened, then they are doing right meditation. In meditation, there must always be the feeling that you want to serve Him. This is the feeling. Immediately the mind gets concentrated if this is the feeling. If the meditation, that is a spiritual path, there is a culmination of service, everything will be achieved. So this is one story. I don't know how long it can be satisfying for the listeners, but I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Dada. So coming back, so our life is divided on a daily basis between the outside and the inside world, right? And when we are in the inside world, we are going in the path of spirituality. And it's when we are interacting with the outside world is where we need to deal with the world in a rational manner. That's what we are talking about.
If the mind has a spiritual experience within, then when you reach out to the world, you will be behaving in a different way. If the mind does not have the nourishment from the inner pure self, then your behavior will be like you are reacting and always reacting to the situation. Whereas if you are saturated with your own self experiences, then you will feel that others' problems are actually could be your own problem, and how to help that person if in the same manner if you were in that situation. So the world the second person and third person where you will participate from a different point of view, different perspective, and that becomes a rational perspective.
So almost the other than we are saying, for rationality to develop, we need to be going in the path of spirituality.
That's correct. Yes. And that's where I was telling in the beginning that spirituality without rationality and rationality without spirituality really degenerates into one side religious dogma and other side materialistic mindset.
So is it even possible to be rational without being spiritual?
It could be if you have a back life experience in your brain potential from before, you could be a rational being to start off with. But in the current lifestyle, in the current life, if you are not recharging your spiritual values, virtues, then that gets exhausted and you get perplexed and you get so much, then you become totally different person. You may start off with being spiritual, but you may end up being a very nasty person too.
So yeah, you might have been born with some things that you've acquired over the time, so you are rational, and then
Yes.
over time you lose it because you're not recharging.
Yes, we see people. You see in this among the students, when we were students. Yes, some are naturally a person is very rational. His behavior, her behavior, her way of reacting, the manners and the temperament and everything. It's so sweet, so accommodative, and so much. Why? Because while interacting with the second and third person, the person feels that this could be my own situation, how I should be then handling it, and you start participatory, reaction, like participating in the situation instead of, reacting against the situation. And we see people like that amongst ourselves
Hmm.
in our younger age, from our younger age. Some people maintain it all the way, whole life. Yes.
So then to develop rationality, also you need spirituality. So at the end of the day, it's spirituality that's needed, right, Dada?
That spirituality is what is human.
Yeah.
That is what human is. That is the evolutionary curve. You see, from physicality emerges intellectuality, and from intellectuality further evolves into rationality and spirituality. From physical to mental, from mental to
Understood.
spiritual.
Hmm.
Yes. So by nature, human beings are supposed to be rational and spiritual.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dada.
Thank you, Dada.
Sure, welcome.
Yes, Sundarji, you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that there is a possibility of intellectual beasts also.
Intellectual?
See, intellectuality without spirituality, you have so many examples like Hitler. Huh? There were people who, what is the worst intellectuality? He did not have any, led to that kind of beastly nature and all that. So intellectuality without the spiritual values of course, we have used the word, a more aseptic word, that materialistic. It's not only, he also becomes a cruel person also.
Yeah.
Intellectuals also can be cruel.
Dada, I'm sorry to interrupt. Baba has fired so many places you might have heard that intellectuals are the polished satans.
Yeah. So I think that has
Yes.
to be understood,
Yes.
because
Yes.
intellectuals can also be beasts, or rather satans or dogs. So you can use how extreme language has been given to where intellectuality withstands what intellectuality without spirituality or spiritual. See, empathy and compassion. What makes society tick is empathy and compassion. So empathize. See, and without the empathy, yes, see, rationality is people can be rational, intellectual, absolutely, but that does not make them human. That does not make them people who are empathy, they have empathy and compassion. So this is possible. The intellectuals are there who are without compassion and empathy.
That's correct. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
Baba says, I think I'm repeating, that Baba says, or he wants, for example, UPIF is the platform, here intellectuals, they're supposed to be the liberated intellectuals. They are not the polished satan like intellectuals. So
Yes,
there
we
is a
want.
Yeah. And one more thing I would like to say, that for rationality, Baba has just go through the electronic books. I mean, 1,000 places he have used. If you go through, you will be much more clear about the rationality. One of my, yeah, who is saying
Yes,
something?
there is one thing, that intellect is always analytical, and Baba is giving in his literature that when mind, interacts with matter, it has to become analytical, and that analytical, mode of mental function, psychic function, is called intellect, analytical. And like Western countries, you see, I will tell you one simple example. In the Western countries, what happens? A and B, there are two substances. These two substances, A and B, they want to study what is the difference between A and B. And the A and B could be having similarity 99.99% and difference of 0.01%. But then they will say they are not the same. This is A and this is B because they are different, even for 0.01%, but they are different. So because they are different, so they will be given two different positions. That is the work of intellect. How to differentiate A from B? This happens when mind is studying matter, you see. But when mind is studying pure consciousness, soul, silence, experiencing, then mind is going towards finding similarities. So they will say in the Asian countries, they will say, well, 99.9% is similar. Who cares for 0.1%? Just leave it. Let us enjoy the beauty of being same type, 99.9%, we are same. Why do you overemphasize 0.01%? For what? There is no sweetness there, but here is sweetness. So this is what Baba says, intuition, and that one is intellect. One is synthetic, one is analytical.
Analytic, yeah.
So Western countries, Eastern countries are more synthetic, intuitional, emotional, sentimental, and spiritual and devotional. And the Western countries are more analytical, logical, and scientific. Now Anand Marga is combining the both values in the book that Baba presents, liberation of intellect. Intellect should be liberated from overburdening function with matter. Now, intellect should also be used for exploring the world of spirituality. That is what our topic is today. If the intellect is goaded towards exploring the vast world of spirituality within, then it becomes a spiritual growth, a path of spiritual growth and achieving spiritual heights. But if intellect is not this way, then it becomes degenerative experience of life. That's what Western countries and cultures have suffered so much. And a huge new generation uprising there, coming forward to experience that beautiful inner world. They're all into yoga and meditation. What a beautiful world they're exploring now. They're feeling so satisfying that, okay, we have something here. They're turning vegetarian. There are no more smokers, and there's a virginity movement. So many things are, so many positive development. That growth has started happening in the Western countries.
Yeah. So anybody else have some other view, please? Yeah, I would like to say something because nobody has raised hand. Some brother was talking about the dogma. So Baba says that what is dogma? Where there is no logic, we all know, where there is no support of intellectuality, where there is no debate and free discussion, but there is only a severe imposition, force people to accept something. That is dogma. And what type of people reach this sort of dogma? The answer is the blind followers of religion. But Baba says, but the genuine dharma is completely based on logic and supported by intellectuality. In the case of dharma, that is spirituality, people are convinced by logic, and people analyze and accept it after free and frank discussion, and accordingly start moving in the path of life. So this is what Pranavji was saying. Thank you. So anybody else, please?
Can I entertain Dada? Rajendra
Why
Dada?
not? Oh, you are there. Jagadishwar Dada, come back. Please speak.
Hurriedly I joined because parallelly there were two programs.
Okay,
me,
fine.
As one professional and one was cultivational.
Fine.
And here I say that rationality, though my professional joining program was there and I left it and I joined the program of ours. It is rationally I decided to join. Why? Because it is professional. Professional is professional, and whereas this joining is a spiritual side, and our program is something sentimental. Man is guided by always sentimental. A long discussion may have, and we may struggle, but always he will be guided by sentiment. Out of these sentiments, the ideological sentiment is the highest one, in which we are taking dive. And in this ideological sentiment also, people, we have discussed long and long about religions and about spirituality and all these things. Whatever Vimalananda Ji has clarified, 1 minus 1 is like this: spirituality without logic, and logic without spirituality, they are different of their colors.
Right.
And that is quite clear, should have been known to all. And at the same time, here if we think a little bit ahead of the subject, actually why one should go for the ideological sentiment, and what is the ideology should be followed. Everybody says ours is ideological, and ours is ideological, ours is ideological. But the thing is this: the inner consciousness where it is inculcated, and it is that means upheld and practiced, then only they realize that yes, it is the practical one to be, which should be followed. There are a number of missions surviving in the world.
I don't know
but
whether you were there.
why?
That is what I told the Baba's story, that which meditation is correct, how we will know. It was very...
Exactly. But here there are, everybody has opened their shops and that means businesses. But one thing is this: the realization should be to the human being, because the thing is, this should be to the human being, which is being proved beyond of their biasness. That what we should recognize in the society. And for this, the missionary zeal and what we are struggling to, that means do much more programs of this prachar and all these things, propaganda and all these things. Of course, it is not touching the heart of the everybody. Why? Somebody is limitalized to their own sentiments. And that we are struggling in a scientific way, and scientific analysis also. I am having information that even if anything is much more discussed and pleaded also, somebody they confined to the race. I heard that in Western countries there is racial discrimination still going on, though this much scientific innovations are there in the society, but discrimination is still prevailing. But in Eastern countries, here, something caste, creed, and national like this. That is why we have to rise all these sentiments and go to the ideological. When ideological comes, then ideological, which is the highest ideology, and which once is propagated the highest, that intelligentsia is not.
Jagdishwar ji, you should write article. Speaking is not enough because it's only 2-3 minutes you are getting. When you write the article, you can write article, 10 pages, very nicely explaining everything. Please do write. Our Proud Now magazine it has crossed already 105,000 visits already. So please write, and this will help the new generation. There's one thing that I would like to add to what Jagdishwarji was saying, but little later. I think there was someone who was trying to raise hand for speaking, and we should get first. Let's go.
No, Dada, nobody's there. Was
No,
somebody
there was.
there?
Yes. I had seen someone raising
Anubhuti was there, Dada.
Anubhuti. Oh, yeah. Okay. Is
Didi
still
Anubhuti, please.
okay. In the meantime, if she's not, she's here. Anubhuti. Yes. Please unmute yourself, Anubhuti. Yes.
Namaskar, everyone. Happy New Year.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Dada, I don't know whether I am right on my opinion or not, but I think very recently it was pointed that love and hatred and emotions have no logic. But I feel if there is no rationality behind these emotions, these can destroy one person. So, like, excess of everything is bad. This is my opinion on this thing.
Yeah.
Correct,
If
correct,
there is
correct.
no rational base, it can destroy one's career, and this is what we are seeing. Like, love turned into infatuation, and many people getting into activities they would not have been into had there been a rational thinking behind their actions. So just one
Rational
point.
temper. Yeah, rational temper is missing. Yes, that's
Yes.
correct. Yes, thank you. What I was going to add is first let us spend little time on what is scientific temper. How do we define scientific temper? We will have to see what is science all about. You know, how do you define science? Is science logical only? Is science rational? Does science equate with rationality? Does science, equate with logic? Is that the end of science? Actually, not. Science means what I have learned being with Baba and all these my life experiences. Science is where you search for the final answer, the cause and effect. When always you search for the cause behind the effect, that becomes the scientific thinking, And if you don't go for cause effect theory, sequence, and you simply adopt the effect without knowing or without looking for, without understanding the cause behind it, that is unscientific thinking. So scientific temper and unscientific temper. Our topic has been scientific temper will help in the further growth of humanity in the area of psycho-spirituality. So our work is to understand what is science, how and what makes something scientific, because it stands on analytical process to look for the cause behind the effect. The cause behind the effect. If you go for looking for the cause behind any effect that is happening around us, maybe small, maybe big, maybe life itself, maybe afterlife, then you are going into your temperament, you are developing, you're transforming your temperament into a scientific one. And this is not new. Kanad, Maharshi Kanad, from there itself it is coming. Kapil, these people were scientific. They were going into cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. Karan Karya is in the Indian philosophy. Karan Karya. Karya, any action will have a Karya. Every Karya will have a cause behind it. So it is called cause and effect theory. So scientific temperament is where you seek for the cause behind any effect. That becomes the scientific. And that is, people are calling reductionist. If this is this, then what it is made of? Okay, this is made of this. Okay, then what this is made of? Oh, this is made of this. Okay, then what this one is made of? Going into the, the final causation. Looking for the final causation will make what will be called scientific temper. Behind anything that happens to life, anything happens in front of you, anything has happened in the past, if your mind starts looking for the cause, why did it happen like that? What must be the cause? Yes, that is a scientific temper. Yes, Arunia will like to say. Madhusudan ji is
Spirituality is
first.
a science.
Madhusudan.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Arunia is
Madhusudan ji.
speaking first time. Okay, Arunia, please.
Arunia is speaking first time. Yes, please, Arunia. Yes.
नमस्कार दादा,
Namaskar.
सभी को नमस्कार, हैप्पी न्यू ईयर. दादा, my point is scientific temperament, these values should be inculcated in students in the school itself. In order to possess good scientific temperament, curiosity is prerequisite. जैसे कि दादा ने अभी बताया कि what is happening around us, we should keep asking question. और मैं एक एग्जाम्पल के माध्यम से समझाना चाहूँगी। दादा, मैं अभी जैसे GPSF प्लेटफॉर्म पे पढ़ा रही हूँ, तो उसमें मैंने देखा है कि एक स्टूडेंट है हु इज आस्किंग मेनी क्वेश्चंस एंड एक स्टूडेंट है हु इज नॉट आस्किंग एनी क्वेश्चन। या तो उसको सब समझ आ रहा है या फिर उसका क्यूरोसिटी क्वेश्चन 0 है। तो मैंने देखा है कि जो बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं, शी हैज मतलब आई हैव सीन क्लैरिटी इन हर थॉट्स, मतलब शी हैज साइंटिफिक टेम्परमेंट इन अप्रोचिंग एनी प्रॉब्लम। तो स्कूल में भी इस जैसे टीचर्स और स्टूडेंट्स के बीच में भी कम्युनिकेशन गैप नहीं होना चाहिए। इस चीज को प्रमोट करना चाहिए, बच्चों की क्यूरोसिटी को और उनके विचारों मतलब उन विचारों की स्वतंत्रता होनी चाहिए कि उनको फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन होना चाहिए। टीचर्स को इस चीज का ध्यान रखना चाहिए और इन चीजों को प्रमोट करना चाहिए। बस मेरा कहना यही था। इस चीज को सप्रेस नहीं करना चाहिए क्योंकि ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है लाइफ में आगे बढ़ने के लिए भी। और
Habit of
साइंटिफिक
asking
टेम्परमेंट
question. Yes.
yes asking question, we should not accept anything मतलब if somebody
That is the
मतलब
first
we should
requisite
not
of students.
yes
That's correct. Yeah, but that's towards the teachers. They should be encouraging. Teachers should be encouraging the curiosity of the. Rather, they should
Thank you.
They should stimulate. They should cause to stimulate curiosity in their students. Yes, correct.
Madhusudan, please.
No, there is a Varsa is first time. So Varsa
Okay.
Yeah, Varsa God, please.
नमस्कार दादाजी।
नमस्कार। यस,
हाँ,
बोलिए।
बस ये बोलना चाह रही हूँ कि जैसे स्कूलों में बच्चों को बताते हैं तो जो नहीं मानते हैं फिलॉसफी को या स्पिरिचुअलिटी को या गॉड को, तो उनको मतलब ये इस माध्यम से भी बता सकते हैं कि एक ही जमीन में एक पौधा बोया है, आम का है और नीम का है, तो उसमें कहाँ से मिठास और कहाँ से कड़वाहट आई, आखिर है ना, आखिर कहीं ना कहीं।
यस, एग्जैक्टली, सही बात है। यस,
कि आप रिसर्च कर लेंगे कि इसमें इसके कारण कड़वाहट है, इसके कारण मिठास है, लेकिन आखिर आई कहाँ से एक ही मिट्टी में एक ही खाद देने के बाद? तो कहीं ना कहीं तो गॉड है और उसको हमको जानना चाहिए, कोशिश करना चाहिए, तब हम फिलोसफी पे आएंगे और उसके माइंड में धीरे धीरे बताएंगे कि कैसे है और कैसे हम
such a simple way. Yes, you're a good teacher. Yes, very nice. बहुत अच्छी बात है।
Thank you, Didi.
Yes, Chitra Didi. Yes, Chitra Govind will like to say.
Okay, Chitra.
I'm unfortunately only asking questions and I'm not saying things, but anyway.
No, this is open forum. Feel free, This our forum is very open discussion. Yes, please go ahead.
So Dada, when you were talking about scientific thinking, so we are going into the cause of what is, the effect, right? Cause of the effect. So this it is not only for the material world, right? It can also be for the human.
Okay. Exactly. That's what is being told. The scientific temper will help in the spiritual growth. It's a tool. Scientific temper becomes the tool for anything and everything, not only for the material world or the physical life world, but also the emotionality of things, also the highest achievement, science, scientific thinking about spirituality itself, justification for spirituality itself. Spirituality itself will need justification before our new generation can appreciate why they should be pursuing spirituality. You see?
Yeah, or even to go into the inner world, like when you are whatever you start your journey and you are meeting things, right? So being able to analyze the cause, like, okay, so I got angry today, so what was the cause?
Exactly. There is a scientific way of thinking. Yes, exactly. And that helps. That becomes very helpful.
Yeah, and that helps.
Yes, Madhusudanji. Yes.
Okay. I just want to mention here, there's two things about scientific method and rationality. One about scientific method. Albert Einstein was once asked how he developed his theory of relativity. And he answered that the theory of relativity came to him almost in as an inspiration. Just a realization, he understood what the theory of relativity was. He spent a lifetime trying to convert that into scientific explanation, into a rational explanation. So the scientific method starts with a theory, with an idea, and then it takes rational explanation, scientific approach to convert that into something that can be communicated to other people. The second thing about rationality is that rationality is a method, it's not a conclusion. So if you start with a premise which is false, you will end up with a conclusion which is false. For example, Karl Marx used rational thinking in the explanation of his theories of society. But his theories were based on a false premise, meaning an incorrect understanding of human psychology. And because of his incorrect understanding of human psychology, the result of his even rational thinking proved to be defective. So rationality by itself is not sufficient. You have to start with a correct premise, because otherwise what will happen is if you start with an incorrect premise or a false premise, even after the process of rationality, you will be required to create dogma in order to get people to understand what your false premise was. So rationality has to be taken into context. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Prabha Didi, Prabha Agrawal, please welcome. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Dada. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
And Happy New Year to all. Madhusudan Dadaji was telling about the rationality. I think this is the reason why we have so many fake gurus trying to make people, adopt different things, whatever they say, and make it seem like that is the truth. So that is why we need scientific temperament to understand and go beyond what they say. So that is why scientific temperament is also very important in the field of spirituality, where we can combine both rationality as well as spiritual learning to progress. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Dada. Didi's word is
nicely worded.
I'm remembering one very interesting thing. I hope you like. The condition of spirituality today, like so many gurus, I mean, there is a slogan that मुर मुड़ाए जटा बढ़ाए मस्त फिरे जैसे भैंसा ऊपर खाक लगाए मन जैसा का तैसा. So these kind of sadhus are lot in this world,
Yes.
Some people say, I mean, the meaning is some people shave their heads, wear long beard, and move like big buffaloes. They smear their bodies with ashes, but internally their mind remains unchanged.
Anubhuti has raised hand.
Okay, Anubhuti, please. Thank you.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, Anubhuti दी.
दादा मेरा एक डाउट है. अभी वो दीदी ने एक चीज बोली थी कि मिट्टी में अगर हम 2 बीज डाल देते हैं, एक आम का और एक नीम का, और फिर बच्चों को हम बोलते हैं, बट कुछ बच्चे ऐसे होते हैं ना, वो ज्यादा ही इंटेलिजेंट होते हैं. मिट्टी तो सेम है, लेकिन वो ये भी तो बोल सकते हैं ना कि हमारी सेम ही जगह पे हम स्कूल में आ रहे हैं, लेकिन कुछ बच्चे होते हैं जिनका कुछ गलत हैबिट्स में वो इंडल्ज्ड होते हैं, और वो ये बोल सकते हैं कि सेम तरीके का एटमॉस्फेयर मिल रहा है, तो हम उससे नहीं अफेक्ट हो रहे, तो भगवान में कैसे वो भरोसा कर सकते हैं? बिकॉज दे आर कमिंग फ्रॉम अ वेरी डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ बैकग्राउंड. तो उस चीज का आंसर दीदी प्लीज थोड़ा सोच के बताना, बिकॉज बच्चे ऐसे पूछते हैं.
Yeah, logic varies from place to place. I mean, where, how to convince, but it has to be logical at the same time.
Yes, it
No,
should not the inquisitive mind of
Yeah.
the students, kids, they should not be discouraged or asked to shut up. Rather it should be always addressed. You have to address it, and it's your
oh,
work, it's your homework,
yeah.
how you are going to best way of teaching the child what their query must be satisfied by your answer.
ये दादा वो दीदी ने बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन करा है, इसलिए नेक्स्ट टाइम अगर वो बताएंगे तो थोड़ा इजी
Yeah,
रहेगा.
sure.
Okay.
You can ask her personally, Didi.
I think if she's around, she may like to respond.
Yeah.
आपको दीदी आपको कुछ कहना है अभी जो अनुभूति बोल रहे
Surendra
हैं?
ji,
सुरेंद्र
now
जी,
you have to
please.
conclude, so be in brief. Thank you. Unmute, please. Unmute, please. Unmute, please. Yeah.
मसूदना दादा ने बोला है कि अभी कि rationality is a process, is a method. It is not a conclusion. So rationality is a tool to explore and also go forward.
Yes, it's
And
tool.
it's not a
More,
conclusion.
it's more a tool than conclusion. That's correct.
Of
I
course.
agree with that.
We are not see, that does not mean rationality, does not mean there are conclusions. Rationality is denotes that you have the mind to explore, to wonder, to explore, to study, and gain more and more knowledge about a particular subject.
Okay.
That inquisitiveness is process is.
Thank you. Final word.
No,
Now 3 more minutes left, and Rajendra ji, please.
Yeah, I think we should conclude. So something is there which I have brought from the book of Baba, that logic, scientific, Tarka, vimarsha, viveka. Suppose there are two opposing ideas. The initial idea is Tarka and the opposing idea is vimarsha. So these two will produce a resultant which is called viveka or conscience. This entire procedure is called vichara. When one moves along the path of viveka, that movement is called rationality. That is what is being discussed. Now, avoiding unnecessary curvatures, avoiding unnecessary hindrances and time taking, when the path is straight, that straight path is rationality. The work of, for example, he is giving the physical rationality. The work of 5,000 men may be done by a machine. If such an ultra-modern machine is introduced in industry, it will surely save labor. This is rationalization. Rationalization in the realm of industry. You may term it as a physical rationalization. Now, what is psychic rationalization? It is effort to rationalize. That is what Dada was saying. It is effort to rationalize dogmatic religious beliefs and practices, but the principle remains the same. The traditionalism is to be rationalized. The curvatures are to be avoided and straightforwardness is to be adopted. And this is what has been done in Anand Marg philosophy. Anand Marg does not accept curvatures. It adopts a straight path. You may call it psycho-spiritual rationalization. Traditionalism is outdated. The time call for rationalization, rationality, and rationalization provides the scope for physical, psychic, and psycho-spiritual evolution. And that was the subject of today. So thank you very much. Let us do a bit of meditation.
Dada,
Yes.
kindly give the reference of the book.
Yeah, I'll give you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I will go
reference.
through it. While
Yes,
quoting
please,
Baba,
Dada.
Yeah,
kindly give the reference.
I'll send you immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not only him personally, actually he's telling that whenever you quote,
Yes.
you should already be
I have,
having
at the
the
bottom
note.
I have not written, just now I have copied from the electronic
I know
book.
that you are taking from there somewhere, but please
Okay.
also take little bit more work. That also please.
Sure.
Okay, thank you all
Thank you
very
so
much. It was very nice and very stimulative.
Let us do a bit of meditation before we
Session, and we do a minute of ideation together, and then we meet again next weekend, the same times, 8 o'clock next Saturday. That's on 14th. Parampita Baba ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you everyone for participating in such a good number. I think everybody has contributed. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you so much.
Namaskar.
to
We
everyone.
meet on January 14th again, same
Yeah.
time, 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Thank you. Sorry, my network is very weak, so I was avoiding video. Please don't
Yeah,
mind it.
Dada,
Thank
I
you.
know that.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar, everybody.
Namaskar.